If you're in the know, you may have heard about a long-lost Russian Lord of the Rings TV adaptation that has recently been rediscovered and uploaded on YouTube. And when I mean recently, I mean like 2 weeks ago. Because I'm not in the know, I wouldn't have heard about this, and the only reason I did find out is because an article from The Guardian popped up on my phone a few mornings ago. I read the article, which gave a short and sweet tongue-in-cheek review of the Russian adaptation, and I was immediately incredibly curious. So I watched it. It's almost 2 hours long and is split into 2 parts, and it covers the events of the Fellowship of the Ring in its entirety. Well, sort of. It was apparently created in 1991, a little less than 10 years before the Peter Jackson trilogy, which could have fooled me. This isn't really a review video because, well, it isn't really worth reviewing, and to put it bluntly, the Russian Lord of the Rings adaptation, known as Profanity, I think that's how it's pronounced, is simultaneously one of the best things I've ever seen, and also one of the worst things I've ever seen. I'm glad I watched it, but I also regret that I watched it. It provided me with mountains of humour, but I'm also certain I'll be having nightmares about it in the future. This video purely exists for me to amuse myself whilst I highlight the pure ridiculousness of Cranatelli. And before I start, I just want to say that this video is all in good faith. People put hard work into this, and even though it is terrible, I do respect the fact that they tried, and to be honest, some of my videos are terrible as well, so who am I to judge? The first thing you'll notice when you start watching this is that it has a budget of $0, which is also 0 rubles. I will call bullshit on anyone that claims that Cranatelli's budget is higher than that, because there is simply no way that is possible. And I want you to keep that in mind at least. It's hard to make a film without a budget. Remember how I said it came out in 1991? Well, it looks like it came out in 1891. I mean, half the cast has fucking mutton chops. When were mutton chops even in fashion in the 20th century? Before I get ahead of myself, I'd like to point out that I don't speak or understand Russian, and the auto-translator isn't very good. So as a result, I spent half of the movie completely confused, and the only reason I kind of knew what was going on is because I know what happens in the Fellowship of the Ring. If you didn't know what happened in the Fellowship of the Ring, you would be so utterly confused that I think your brain would just melt. My first laughing fit started when the hobbits first appeared on screen. Like, legit, they're kind of like Peter Jackson's hobbits, except imagine that instead of being obsessed with mushrooms and pipeweed, the hobbits are actually obsessed with crocodile and smoking methamphetamines. That's the instant vibes I get from them, but whatever, hobbits are supposed to be weird. Bilbo shows up and he's kind of okay, although he also has mutton chops, whatever, he's 111, old-fashioned style remains. Gandalf's there too, and you know, he has a grey beard and grey hair, and he's also a Knight Templar, I think, so I guess he's kind of accurate. Although he's pretty much a black hole of charisma across the entire film. I don't think the actor makes a single facial expression once. What I was really interested in was Frodo. He's the main character. So far the hobbits just come across as drug-fueled gremlins, but Frodo is a bit different. He's well-spoken, well-learned, upper class, and oh, wait, he's also addicted to meth. Like, seriously, that is one of the most fucked up introductions I've ever seen for a character across any piece of media. And I'd like to point out that Gandalf and Bilbo are pretty much the highest point of the casting. It just keeps getting worse from there, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. One thing you might also notice if you watch it is how long the dialogue is. Dialogue scenes between characters drag on seemingly endlessly, and no, it's not because I can't understand what they're saying. In the first 25 minutes of the film, there's like 6 minutes of Bilbo-Gandalf dialogue, followed by over 10 minutes of Frodo-Gandalf dialogue. And then there's also like several minutes of the narrator speaking. Then there's several minutes of intermission between Smeagol and Deagol, and yeah, Gollum has a fucking cabbage on his head. But that's probably the most effort they put into costume design in the entire film. Also, check out Deagol's death scene. Terrifying, isn't it? Anyway, I wouldn't be surprised if several people shot themselves whilst watching this opening half an hour. We get introduced to the other 3 hobbits shortly afterwards, not in the same way as in the books, but whatever, film's gonna make some changes. And honestly, it took me the whole movie to figure out which one is which. I think it probably would have been easier if I could understand Russian, but you know, they also all have mutton chops as well. honestly, I wish the weird obsession with mutton chops was the worst thing about this film. We also see the Nazgul more. They're just dudes in black hoods riding horses in the most unintimidating way ever. You can see their hands and faces too, so, like, zero effort was put in, which is fantastic. One thing the film does do, however, is show some of the parts of the book that PJ's movies skipped. Farmer Maggot appears, although he's an innkeeper for some reason. And also, I think I was already in like such a haze at this point that I felt like this scene went for like 15 minutes, and turns out it only went for like 4 minutes. The hobbits go into the old forest and get trapped by Old Man Willow. And then, wait for it.
Oh! Oh!
Yes, Tom Bombadil appears. The most controversial figure in Middle-earth appears. And, to be honest, he's not actually bad. Like, he's one of the better things about the movie, which is really messed up when you think about it. I was thinking that maybe we'd actually get through his scenes with no real issues, and then... Oh, wait, what the fuck is this? Why are he and Goldberry giants? Like, why are the hobbits waiting to get baby-birded? For real, like, what the fuck is happening here? You might be thinking, yeah, they're hobbits, they're supposed to be small. Except this is the only time in the film where the size difference is actually shown. And yeah, they're small, but Tom Bombadil shouldn't be so big where he looks like he can eat them. Then we continue with the places that PJ's movies don't show. The hobbits reach the Barrow Downs, and it looks like the set of Thriller. And what seems to be a Barrow-wite is actually just a... I don't even know what this is. It's still scary though, I'll give them that, but probably not in the way that they intended it to be. You see, this is the great thing about this film. It keeps you on the edge of your seat because you aren't sure what monstrous thing they'll do next. It's like this weird cycle of punishment where you're looking forward to your favourite scenes just so you can see how Crenatelli turns them into an acid trip gone wrong. It's really, really great. Alright, then we reach the Prancing Pony. And we're also halfway through the film. And this film covers the entire Fellowship of the Ring, and we've only just reached Bree. To their credit, the Prancing Pony actually looks like an inn. This is actually a decent set. Balam and Butterbur is wearing chainmail for some reason, and Frodo quickly tries to start molesting the other patrons. Finally, though, my most anticipated moment of the film arrives. Aragorn. And oh man, this is a guy I would 100% follow into battle. He even has a scar and is possibly still in high school, so he's gotten a lot done. It's cool to see that Aragorn was in the film. I really wasn't expecting that crossover, especially in the 90s. I don't think Christopher Paolini was even born yet. I'm not sure what happened to Aragorn though. I was really expecting him to show up, but Aragorn will do. We can ride dragons, I guess. So we're into the start of the second act now. Rivendell, and I'm super excited to see the other members of the cast because they haven't disappointed yet. And, oh wait, sorry, I forgot about Weathertop and the Flight to the Ford. Those two are pretty important chapters. That gets about 2 minutes of screen time, probably because they couldn't fill those scenes with giant exposition dumps, endless dialogue, and the hobbits just being sus as fuck. I'll just leave this short clip to summarize it. No, but for real, the Council of Elrond. Holy shit. We get introduced to the final members of the Fellowship, and it does not disappoint. Here we see everyone entering the council, and... what the fuck? There's actual court jesters in the background. Why are there court jesters? Did the final extras run out of costumes or something? Elrond is... exactly how I pictured him. Move over, Sean Bean. Old balding guy is here to play Boromir. Gimli is... I mean, he barely even has a beard. He has, like, less of a beard than Thorin Oakenshield in The Hobbit. And that guy is Legolas. Oh wait, no, that's a woman. Yeah, they got a woman to play Legolas. I can't even make this shit up. I love it so much. Tolkien was especially against portrayals of a feminine-type Legolas, so this adaptation took it a step further by straight-up making Legolas a woman. I love it too because they kind of try to hide it by always keeping her in the back of shots and by not giving her any lines, but it's still super obvious. I really do just love the sheer audacity of it. It's absolutely amazing. I think this should be the standard going forward. Gimli barely has any lines. We also get to see Boromir get brainwashed by the One Ring. We couldn't have just scenes of him just kind of staring at it intently. We just get this weird, corny scene. I don't even know what to call this. And then he gives the greatest reaction in the history of cinema when he's chosen to join the Fellowship. Like, he literally wants to die, and unfortunately for him, he can't die in this film. Gandalf, like he does in the books, recounts his confrontation with Saruman the White. Saruman of many colours, Saruman of, oh for fuck's sakes, why didn't they get this guy to play Elrond or Aragorn? Why is this guy playing Saruman? There is absolutely nothing Saruman about him except that he has 2 legs, 2 arms, and is roughly humanoid in shape. It's especially funny because it looks like they put a decent amount of effort into his costume just to get it completely wrong. But it's all worth it because we get Gandalf escaping on an eagle. Moria is a wild ride though. I feel like this is where the film peaks. The Fellowship gets attacked by dinosaurs, then they become stop-motion characters. They show the Nazgul again for some reason. The next scene is probably my favourite in the entire film. Frodo yeets himself to his death, evidently trying to escape this production. Sam is inconsolable, so he decides to join his master in the afterlife. Not a bad idea. Pippin approves of this for some reason. Then Aragorn is falling to his death. The directors remind us that Legolas is now a woman again. Aragorn is then climbing back up, and then we see Frodo and Sam reappear. But Aragorn's hair is different in both scenes, and he's shown standing at the top when the 2 hobbits reappear. So it's like they used Aragorn as a stand-in for Sam for half of his scenes, but not the other half. So we just end up with the mess of, like, whatever the hell happens there. I don't even know. I watched that scene multiple times, and I still haven't figured out what the hell actually happened, or why that scene exists. It gets even better. The orcs attack, except they're just dudes in horned helmets. The fight scenes are really something, though. The choreography is absolutely incredible. Boromir's actor puts in 110%. And that's me being legitimate, by the way. Gandalf gets swarmed by orcs because a Balrog is outside the budget. I'm honestly not surprised, although I thought they'd bring the dinosaurs back at least. The Bridge of Khazad-dûm is like the Ledge of Khazad-dûm, which Aragorn has real trouble with. You might notice that Aragorn's hair keeps changing in different scenes, but that's kind of hardly surprising. You also get a real sense of urgency when the rest of the Fellowship is crossing, and you can really tell they're upset that their friend just died. By this point, I was kind of skipping through my first watch because I feel like I was almost brain dead. But I later returned to the Lothlorien scenes, and I'm really glad I did. So, the elves, like, hypnotize a bunch of the members of the Fellowship for some reason. Merry falls asleep. Aragorn gets put to sleep by, like, a fucking snake charmer. Like, what? Sam gets date raped. Honestly, the elves are kind of weird in The Hobbit, but I don't remember Tolkien describing the Lothlorien elves as rapists. Meanwhile, Boromir and Gimli are just kind of standing there wondering why they're even in this film. Galadriel is there, flanked by 2 kids for some reason. Celeborn actually receives the best treatment by straight up not appearing, which that's not even sarcasm, that's probably the best treatment you could get in this film. Oh, and by the way, we're 10 minutes from the end of the film. And that last 10 minutes is Boromir and Frodo talking, and then Frodo and Sam just ride off into the snow together. I shit you not, that's how the film ends. Yeah, the breaking of the Fellowship is actually in the 2 towers, so it's accurate, but not a single other member of the cast appears after they meet Galadriel. I guess they all just stayed in Lothlorien, yeah? I don't know. There's other things I want to talk about too. The special effects are obviously not very special. What appears to be shitty green screen is used extensively as a character cutout. My favourite is the One Ring. Whenever someone is about to use it, it plays like a weird 1980s video game console sound effect. Some of the music fits okay, but some of it sounds like it belongs in a porno rather than Middle-earth. The visual effects are extremely jarring in several scenes, especially the awful blurring effects at the start. I could go on with like visual and audio problems, but I mean, honestly, there's really no point. But despite the fact that I've pretty much just spent like almost 15 minutes shitting on this film, I have to say, it is really incredible. It's so bad that it's good. Like, everything about this film is absolutely hilarious. The messed up hobbits, the extremely low budget and the poor quality visuals, the casting choices with the best being female Legolas, and the completely messed up pacing that sees several chapters either completely skipped or condensed into 1-minute scenes. But all of that combines to create one of the best Lord of the Rings related memes possibly ever. I'm not sure how seriously they took this when filming it, but I don't think it makes a difference. If they purposely made it as shit as possible, then it's actually brilliant satire. If they tried their hardest to make it good, then it makes it all the more better due to how spectacularly they failed. It puts it on the level of other films like The Room and Samurai Cop for how ridiculous it is. As I said much earlier, it occupies that perfect space. I'm not sure if I love it or hate it. By all rights, I should hate it, but I simply can't bring myself to do that. How could you? I'm now left pondering deeper meanings. If this film was released in the 70s or 80s instead of 1991, could it have halted the decline of the Soviet Union? Would the Soviets have won the Cold War? Was this the masterpiece that could unify the nation released too late? All I know for certain is that Amazon now have the blueprint for a perfect Lord of the Rings adaptation, and if they still somehow mess it up, then I hope they get crushed by a giant Tom Bombadil. Thanks. Bye.